जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे। जय पंचतत्व, जय पंचतत्व, पंचतत्व जय पंचतत्व। जय नरसिंहदेव, जय प्रहलाद महाराज, नरसिंहदेव जय प्रहलाद महाराज। जय जगन्नाथ, जय जगन्नाथ, जय बलदेवा, जय सुभद्रा देवी। जय जय प्रभुपाद, 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद। नित्य गौर हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, नित्य गौर हरि बोल। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेस AC भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ब्रह्म मध्व गौड़े आचार्य वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। सामवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, titled The First Step in God Realization, Text 3. Nidrayā hriyate naktam vyavāyena ca vyavāyā divā cārthehayā rājan kuṭumba-bharaṇena vā nidrayā hriyate naktam vyavāyena ca vayaḥ divā cārthehayā rājan kuṭumba-bharaṇena vā nidrayā hriyate naktam vyavāyena ca vayaḥ divā cārthehayā rājan kuṭumba-bharaṇena vā. Nidrayā, by sleeping. Hriyate, ways. Naktam, night. Vyavāyena, sex indulgence. Cha, also. Va, either. Vayaḥ, duration of life. Divā, days. Cha, and. Artha, economic. Īhayā, development. Rājan, O king. Kuṭumba, family members. Bharaṇena, maintaining. Va, either. Translation, please repeat. The lifetime of such an envious householder is passed at night, either in sleeping or in sex indulgence, and in the daytime either in making money or maintaining family members. Purport. The present human civilization is primarily based on the principles of sleeping and sex indulgence at night and earning money in the day and spending the same for family maintenance. Such a form of human civilization is condemned by the Bhagavata school. Because human life is a combination of matter and spirit soul, the whole process of Vedic knowledge is directed at liberating the spirit soul from the contamination of matter. The knowledge concerning this is called Atma Tattva. Those men who are too materialistic are unaware of this knowledge and are more inclined to economic development for material enjoyment. Such materialistic men are called karmis or fruitive laborers, and they are allowed regulated economic development or association of women for sex indulgence. Those who are above the karmis, that is, the jnanis, the yogis, and devotees, are strictly prohibited from sex indulgence. The karmis are more or less devoid of Atma Tattva knowledge, and as such, their life is spent without spiritual profit. The human life is not meant for hard labor for economic development, nor is it meant for sex indulgence like that of dogs and hogs. It is specially meant for making a solution to the problems of material life and the miseries thereof. So the karmis waste their valuable human life by sleeping and sex indulgence at night, and by laboring hard in the daytime to accumulate wealth, and after doing so, they try to improve the standard of materialistic life. The materialistic way of life is described herein in a nutshell, and how foolishly men waste the boon of human life is described as follows. Translation. The lifetime of such an envious householder is passed at night either in sleeping or in sex indulgence, and in the daytime either in making money or maintaining family members. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छा कल्पतरो भयश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So these are a few of the initial words, the first words spoken by Sukadeva Goswami. We'll just have a recap of all the incidences that led to this discussion. So in the first canto, in the last chapter, we are looking at Parikshit Maharaj coming back to his palace after after the incident of putting the snake on the sage's neck. And immediately he realizes, immediately he understands that he has made a mistake. There was a saint who was meditating, and because he was engaged in devotional service very deeply, he did not notice my presence. And it was wrong of me to have considered that as an insult. So Parikshit Maharaj immediately realized that. And he took responsibility for it. You know, in the beginning of the previous chapter, we will see Parikshit Maharaj saying, I wish that whatever misfortune one would get because of such an act would be bestowed upon me. May I lose my wealth, may I lose my kingdom, glory, whatever, So he was willing to take responsibility, and that becomes the turning point in the whole pastime. When a devotee makes a mistake, and when he owes to that, and when he takes responsibility for it, when he becomes accountable for his action, then he gets very special blessing from Krishna. He was not asking Krishna, you please protect me from this. He knows Krishna will protect him. He has experience. In his womb, Parikshit Maharaj was attacked by Brahmastra. His whole body was burnt. And Krishna entered the womb. He nullified the effect of Brahmastra and he gave him a new body. So Parikshit Maharaj perfectly knows that if he asks Krishna, he is going to get that protection. He has first-hand experience of it. Not like me, just like some faith that is yet to be tested. He knows that this will happen. If I call, even without me calling, he came. So if I call, he'll come to defend me. So he had that awareness, but he never used that. He never used that. He never used that trump card. And he never used his own spiritual strength. Parikshit Maharaj had the full potency to nullify the curse. And he never used that spiritual strength he had. And it wouldn't have been wrong for him to use it. It would have never been wrong for Parikshit Maharaj have used his power or to nullify the curse, because he actually didn't do anything. In Bhagavad Gita 9:30, Krishna says that when a person is engaged in pure devotional service and if accidentally he falls down, we should not stop thinking of him as a devotee. It will become an offense on us. So it was an accident, more than an accident. It was Krishna's will for unfolding the pastime of bringing Bhagavatam to the world. So Parikshit Maharaj could have used all this. He wouldn't have been wrong in getting Krishna's support or using his own strength, but he took responsibility. And when a devotee takes responsibility, when a devotee becomes accountable for his action, then he receives special favor from Lord. And the first favor he received was shelter of Mother Ganges. Immediately, as soon as he heard the news, he went and he sat on the banks of river Ganges, first shelter, Mother Ganges. And then as soon as the saints and Raja Rishis heard what has happened to Parikshit Maharaj, immediately they all assembled there. They all came to sit with him. And Parikshit Maharaj glorified all these people. And then he requested them, I'm going to die, and I want to die remembering Krishna. And if I would get another birth, I don't want to forget Krishna. So I am seeking your blessings that you please continuously help me hear the glories of Lord Vishnu. And the Raja Rishis, they were all the saintly people, the sages and the saintly kings who had assembled there, they were so pleased with this attitude. They said, very good, yes, you are in the correct direction. And they were pleased with him, and they glorified his detachment. He had given up his kingdom in a minute's notice, in a second's notice. That means he had trained his son already to take the responsibility. So his son was the king now, and he showed great detachment. So they glorified his detachment, and they said, they assured him of their association. They said, till Parikshit Maharaj gloriously passes away from this world, we'll all be here. We'll all give you association. So immediately he got, first was the blessings of Mother Ganga, then was the blessings of all the devotees. They all came to him. And then Parikshit Maharaj glorified the sages, thanked the sages for their kindness, and then he asked a question. What is the immediate duty? What is the unalloyed duty? Unalloyed means, alloy means Alloy in science is the mixture of metals. You put few things together. That's an alloy. So unalloyed means you don't mix anything. There should be just one thing. And if it's gold, it should be only gold. But if you don't want that pure gold, sometimes you mix copper, because you have some desire to make it into some jewelry or something, then you make an alloy of gold. Because gold in itself is not so malleable. But if you make with copper or something mixed, then you can make some intricate jewelry and all. So his question was, what is the unalloyed duty of everyone in all circumstances, specifically those who are just about to die? So this is the question he asked the sages. As soon as he asked the question, next verse, 24, he is asking this. 25, Sukadeva Goswami appeared. That's the next blessing coming his way. Immediately Sukadeva Goswami appears. And there is a beautiful description of the appearance, how Sukadeva Goswami looks. He's innocent like a child, he's grave, and he's a dark hue complexion. Beautiful description of Sukadeva Goswami in the character. Like in stories you introduce characters, so that's where first time he's introduced. And he immediately went and he took an elevated seat, because he knows that the question is for me and I'm here to help him. So he immediately took an elevated seat. Then Parikshit Maharaj glorified Sukadeva Goswami. He said, even though I am a royal person who's generally not fortunate enough to get saintly persons association, usually they are shunned because it's considered that they are too much materialistic, they have too much materialistic opulence, and that association may be contaminating. Many times saintly people will reject the association of royals. So he thanked Sukadeva Goswami for giving him the opportunity to associate, even though he was a royal. And he said, just by remembering you, one can get nullified of all their sins. What to speak of looking at you, washing your lotus feet, worshipping you, It's a great fortune for me that you have come. And just like when Lord is present, atheists are defeated immediately. Similarly, when you are present, a person's sinful reactions in your presence are completely nullified. So he glorifies, that's the process. As soon as you see a person, your spiritual master, who can guide you from your very tight situation, you have to express your gratitude. So he glorifies, and he thanks him for that association. And he says that it's Krishna's kindness. So Parikshit Maharaj is able to see. He was, when he met the saintly people, he said, Krishna is so kind to me. Just imagine any of us told, 1 week time, pack up and go. That's it. How many of us will have that mindset to say, Krishna is so kind. I'm a king. I will never be able to give up my material attachments. So Krishna is so kind that he has put me in this situation, that he has given me this blessing in the form of a curse. So every step he is recognizing that blessing. So now also he is recognizing it is Krishna's special blessing that you have come in my life. And this is my question. And these are the two questions that form the basis of Sukadeva Goswami narrating the Bhagavatam. So in verse 37, he's requesting, please show way of perfection for all persons, especially one who is about to die. So first he wants to know what is the way of perfection. In the second verse he is asking, what should he hear, chant, remember and worship, and what he should not do. What should he do, what he shouldn't do. Doing in terms of hearing, chanting, remembering. What should he, Shravana, Kirtana, Smarana, what should he do and what he shouldn't be remembering, what he shouldn't be associating with, what is not good for him to do. And that is basically end of Canto 1. Now we are in the first chapter. This is verse 3. So in verse 1, Sukadeva Goswami talks. And he says, Parikshit, your question is glorious. Why is this question glorious? Because he was not trying to find a solution for his problem in terms of how will I not die? How can I escape? He was trying to make the best out of a bad bargain, as they say, you know. Now I am put in this tight situation. What can I do that will be best for my spiritual life in this situation? And with that mood, he is asking that question. And then Sukadeva Goswami says, your question is glorious because it benefits all kinds of people. You know, whatever question you're asking, because of that, there's going to be some discussion. And this discussion is going to benefit everyone. And that's Srimad Bhagavatam. And he tells in that first verse itself, he's asking, Parikshit Maharaj is, what should one hear, what should one chant, what should one remember? Immediately he gives, what one should hear is the answer to this question. And what is the answer to this question? Srimad Bhagavata. Yeah, so this is what you should be doing. You know, I will recite, you hear, you remember Krishna, you go back. So that is just a nutshell. Srila Prabhupada uses the word nutshell in this verse to describe the material. You know, these verses are describing the nature of a conditioned soul in material world. And Prabhupada uses the word nutshell, means in short. So here Parikshit Maharaj, in the first verse itself, he is giving in nutshell. Hearing the answer to this question is the most beneficial thing for everyone. It will benefit everyone. And then he goes to describe two types of people, Grihastha and Grihamedi. And Grihamedi are people who are materially engrossed, being blind to knowledge of ultimate truth, have many subject matters for hearing in human society. They want to hear about many things. What happened to the neighbor, and do you know this person is not doing like this? Do you know in this TV serial the mother-in-law is planning to kick the, so many, you want to share. There are WhatsApp groups for these things, and there is like thousands of people who subscribe to YouTube channels just to like get this hearing, you know. So they are classified as Grihamedis. So this section answers, what should one not do? You know, he asked both, what should one do and what should one not do? And then this is what one should not do. You know, you should not be a Grihamedi. You should not be a person who is not interested in absolute truth, who is not having the knowledge of ultimate truth. They are interested in hearing about many subject matters. That's not good. That's not something you should do. And the lifetime of such an envious householder, that is the Grihamedi. Yeah? So such people, how do they spend their time? Because they are full day engaged in hearing all this nonsense. Then the day and night are also spent in nonsense. Night they are sleeping or having sex indulgence. And the daytime they are making money and maintaining family members. Yeah, whatever you hear, how much ever you hear on a topic, that much it becomes engraved in your brain. And accordingly, your actions will also become like that. If we are engrossed in hearing lot of materialistic topic, you will be surprised to see that our activities are also becoming exceedingly mundane. And if we are engrossed in hearing a lot of spiritual topics, then we will see that our actions are also spiritual. You know, the way we deal with problem will be very spiritual. We will not immediately take an axe and be ready to attack, or, you know, the guiding principle of material life is fear instead of faith. You know, so the problem with material hearing is that it creates only fear. It will not create faith. So as soon as that fear comes, then you need to do all these things. You need to work very hard. You think you have to maintain this family, and you're so exhausted doing that your senses have to be revived. So you spend so many hours sleeping, and then you have to give yourself a candy, right, for doing all of this. So you engage in sensual pleasure. And before you could completely enjoy, it is already the next day. All the fear is coming up. I have to do this. I need to pay this fees. I need to enroll in this course. I need to, all the fears manifest in form of earning. The need to earn and the need to maintain. When you are, there is an educator, his name is Maslow. So he makes a hierarchy. Basically what he is telling is, sometimes the teachers have this challenge that some students are not studying at all. How much ever effort you put, they don't study. Something seems to be, you teach the same thing, somebody is studying so well, and somebody, they don't study well. So he came up with this theory of a hierarchy of needs, and what he is saying is, there is levels of needs, and when those needs are fulfilled, more and more of those needs fulfilled, more and more you will be happy and satisfied. And when those needs are satisfied, then the child gets an orientation to be able to focus in class. Of course, we can talk about a lot of nonsense, a lot of things that are not correct there, but the basic concept is there are needs, and then people try to satisfy the needs. So he identifies a basic need, like what is the physical need, that is minimum needed for a child to be happy. If you send a child without food, or like water or warm clothes for winter or something, even if he is very brilliant, he will not be able to study. So that physical need is, that's the minimum somebody should be satisfied at. And then you will need some sense of security. You need a job, you may have an insurance, or if it's a child, they feel secured if the house is peaceful, parents are together, if the fees is paid. Those things give a sense of security. And then they have a social need. Higher than that is a social need, where they have friendships, where they have like a family relationship, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, my fiance, some social needs are satisfied. And then a little more than that is a esteem need, what makes you feel good about yourself. And these are things like things you accomplish, like you study and get a degree, or you're good in sports, you come first, or you're very beautiful, whatever. Yeah, so some kind of things that give some satisfaction to the esteem needs, as he calls them. And there is self-actualization needs. So these are the topmost. We have like a morality, creativity, service. They're all up there. That's the top. If you imagine a pyramid, the bottommost are the basic needs, and the topmost is the self-actualization, as he calls it. So if you don't have, if you don't have food to eat, if you don't have warm clothes for winter, if you don't have proper facilities for living, you will be rarely thinking about how can I serve this nation? How can I serve my friends? When those needs are not satisfied, naturally you want to fulfill those needs. And sometimes you even do immoral things to fulfill those needs. So he gives this idea of these different levels, and he says at least 3 of these basic levels of physical, security, and social, if they are satisfied for a child, there's a good chance that he will be good in studying. Of course, then there are other problems that may stop one from learning, but these 3 should be satisfied. Yeah, so then if you apply it to people in general, we have needs, and when we think that these needs when we think, if I satisfy these needs, I will be happy, then naturally we work for it. We naturally tend to work for those needs. And is it wrong? Is it wrong to work for getting some food or shelter or giving some education to our children? They're not wrong. But as Srila Prabhupada says, they are not the own and only needs. Self-actualization has been placed in that pyramid of needs top. Yeah? That means morality and service and all that. But that is the beginning place of human life. The difference between human life and animal life is, we do strive to get some of these lower rungs of the pyramid satisfied. But we don't just stay there. I need to have a good job, I need to have food, I need to have some money for my children to be safe, I need to be very good in my social circle with my friends, I have to organize parties or be in parties. Those are all, I need to have some degree, I need to set an example for my colleagues. Those are all fine. But the human life starts where the pyramid of Maslow finishes, at self-actualization. So the first and basic lesson is, you are not this body. Just as Krishna told Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. When Arjuna said, I am your disciple, kindly instruct me, I am so super confused, please tell me what is right, what is wrong. First instruction Krishna gave, of course he was chastising him, you speak like a very intelligent person, he was chastising him, but as an instruction, the first thing he gave was, you're not this body. And a whole section, chapter 2 is one of the biggest sections of Bhagavad Gita, and a big chunk of it is just simply explaining, you're not this body, you're spirit soul. And the soul doesn't die. And the soul's need, when you satisfy, the needs of body go down. So that Parikshit Maharaj knows this perfectly. So it is not worded directly like you're not this body, but what Sukadeva Goswami says is, the needs of the body are not the only needs. So this is the don't. What should one do and what one should not do. So the should not do is covered in these few verses. You should not just think that body is all in all and the needs of the body are all in all. Needs of body are real. You should fulfill them. But you should not think that this is the only thing that I should be fulfilling. This is the only thing that I should focus. So he says that this form, the human, Srila Prabhupada says, the human form is not just worried about taking care of body. That is what every other living form does. Dogs, cats, monkeys, cows in mode of goodness, that's animals. Even those animals, all they can think about is how I can take care of my other rungs of basically the lowermost rung, the basic needs. How can I get food? How can I get good water? How can I get some shelter? And only on that level. So human beings should not just be thinking on that level. They should be thinking on higher level, not just the body, but also about the soul. And they should use this human form of life not just for working, for maintaining family and resting their senses in the night and enjoying, but you shouldn't only be engaged in that. So this verse is that what one should not do, it falls in that. A few more verses with very, very heavy instructions we should embrace for that, right on, punch on the faces are coming. Yeah? So that is basic message. Just don't think of the needs of body, think of the needs of soul. And that is why your question is very glorious, because it is going to help people connect to the needs of the soul. Bhagavatam connects to the needs of the soul. So now there is, when people read this purport, sometimes, we have something called as academic and moral integrity. Srila Prabhupada writes in this purport, those who are above the karmis, that is, the jnanis, yogis and devotees, they are strictly prohibited from sex indulgence. So that many times, due to lack of knowledge or complete understanding, knowledge but not complete, many times we have seen this happen, especially in like olden days of newly formed ISKCON. People would shun the responsibility. They would just say, look at this purport, we should not have sex indulgence. For karmis it's regulated, but for jnanis and yogis and devotees, strictly prohibited. So you will see the husband leaving the wife and going away, and the children are left. So we should learn to understand Srila Prabhupada's statement in a sometimes we understand what is most convenient for us. This sentence, this meaning is most convenient for me, so I'm going to take it with that meaning. We shouldn't do that. We have to know that Prabhupada is not telling people to become irresponsible in their family duties. You do not leave your wife or husband in an immature way. Unprotected woman, you leave her and go. She may go and have some illicit sex because her needs, basic need for some social life is not satisfied, some relationship is not satisfied. So she may go and do something illicit. She will get a reaction for it, but you're going to get more because you did not offer that protection. If a husband, for example, lives in an immature way, the children who are dependent on him, look at that, Prabhupada is saying, Atma Tattva, the knowledge about soul, how could I be angry? Sukadeva Goswami is telling, I'll become an envious householder if I pass my night in sleeping or sex indulgence, or if I pass my day working or maintaining my family. I cannot. Sukadeva Goswami, you leave the kid and go, what happens to unprotected children? They are exposed to all kind of wrong things. They may be abused by someone. They may follow your footstep and become irresponsible people who will in turn be not able to protect a woman or take care of a family. And it becomes an avalanche effect. Overall, you will see that our society is filled with people who can't take responsibility. We are seeing that Parikshit Maharaj got this special blessing because he took responsibility for his action. Krishna turned his face and arranged for so many special things because he never used any trump card. I am a devotee of Krishna. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, accidental fall down, I am to be forgiven. So I am going to use my spiritual strength to nullify. Never, he never went away from what he was responsible for. So we should not misread Prabhupada's translation to think that we should give up our duties. Prabhupada says that Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on mind. If somebody is not naturally ready to give up those things, we should not artificially give up those things thinking that they are right to do. Because what we will like that create is ultimately a society of unqualified and untrained citizens. It will create a havoc. It will create a havoc. If we, on the other hand, stick to our sadhana, stick to our promises to our spiritual master, and continue doing our duty, continue practicing our Krishna consciousness, chanting, Bhagavatam reading, Bhagavad Gita reading, taking care of children. Prabhupada says taking care of children is more important than even deity worship. So when we give that needed attention, then we are bringing up a society of responsible citizens. And when they become responsible, naturally you can give up your duties. Naturally you will come into a space where you can become detached. You will know that you are no more obliged to take care of many things because you have created somebody who can take care of those things, and the detachment becomes natural. It is a gradual process. you know, and but it is effective and truthfully working process. But if we artificially understand this verse and give up our responsibilities and duties in an immature way, we are going to affect all the people who were dependent on us in a very negative way, and we ourselves are not going to be able to sustain in that level. We will also fall down, because that is not our natural level of detachment. So you leave this wife and this kid and this family, and you practice so-called vairagya for some time, but after some time you will see he has another set of wife and children. You know, you can't go back, they're going to kick you, no? So he will develop one more there. It comes to him, I cannot maintain this. And then at that time, these statements will mean something else. You will twist. You know, we should never do that with, you know, we have to maintain that academic and moral responsibility in understanding and interpreting Srila Prabhupada's words in the way they are meant to be, not as it suits the situation. You know? So, to summarize, we saw a recap of Parikshit Maharaj's life. We focused on the turning point in his life, where he took the responsibility for his action. And then that led to a lot of blessing from Krishna, like Ganga Tat, sages and Raja Rishis visiting him, and Parikshit Maharaj giving up his eating and fasting and his kingdom to his son and all that. And then he is asking a question, what is the unalloyed duty of somebody who is about to die? And then Sukadeva Goswami appears in the picture. And then after glorifying Sukadeva Goswami, he poses the same question to him, and chapter 2, canto 2 starts with Sukadeva Goswami saying that this is the best question, because the answer is the best solution for all material problems, which is Bhagavatam. And then we looked at the different needs and how to fulfill those needs. And then Prabhupada talks about spiritual needs and material needs, and how human form is meant for primarily nurturing the spiritual needs and not just the material needs. And we also saw the importance of not misinterpreting Prabhupada's statements and prematurely or immaturely leaving your responsibility towards family. So, thank you very much. If there are any comments or questions. Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much for a wonderful class. My question is, in the beginning you said when a devotee takes responsibility for his mistakes, it becomes very dear to Krishna. But most of us are not at that level, spiritual level of Parikshit Maharaj, that we even can understand what taking responsibility means. But how do we get into that mood of taking responsibility for our mistakes?
I can narrate when I was preparing for this class, this incident was coming to my mind repeatedly. One time, a family of very senior devotees, very close to me. I often go to them for spiritual guidance, deity worship. You know, they gave me service in terms of deity worship and all. So I noticed that suddenly they were not talking, or they were not giving me so much of their association. And I didn't actually know what I did wrong. So it was bothering me, you know. I was trying to like barge in and try to re-establish, and it wasn't working, you know. They were polite, but I could see that there was a barrier, not necessarily put by them, but I could sense it somehow, you know. So I asked my husband, you know, it's troubling me so much, you know, I don't know what to do. And then he said, why don't you just go and ask them? Why don't you just ask them, you know, are you angry with me? Are you upset? And then I said, yeah, but I don't know what I did wrong. And then he said, you should know that you did something wrong. And that should be your mentality when you're approaching them. So with that mentality, I approached those devotees. And then I said, can you please forgive me? I don't know what, I can sense that there is something wrong, but I want you to kindly forgive me. So immediately that Prabhu asked, what did you do wrong? And then I was thinking, and then I remembered my husband's word and said, I did something wrong, I know, I just don't know what, And then he laughed, and then he was silent for some time. I think he was able to sense that I was too dumb to understand what was my mistake, and that was genuinely the truth. So at that point he said, no, you didn't do anything wrong. And immediately things changed. Immediately things became better. So when we are dealing with devotees, we should go with that mindset. That's something I learned from that incident. Don't think, sometimes we have this way of apologizing. Please forgive me if I did something to, please forgive me if I made an offense. That if should be knocked out. Please forgive me, I know I did something wrong. I'm too dumb to understand what I did wrong. If you know what you did wrong, it should be very easy, because it is your ego against going back to Godhead. What is that you want? Do you want to satisfy your ego at the cost of not going back to Godhead? No. So when we understand, if I'm going to treat Krishna's devotees like that, or not even devotees, anybody for that matter, when we treat them like that, it's not going to work. So we will easily give up. But the problem is when we don't know what we did. Because it's such an intricate relationship with devotees, is so delicate. It's like walking on a what is called razor blade edge. You could, it can, when you don't go straight, it can cut you. And many times we do it because we are not trained properly, and we are not aware of those etiquettes and all our different shortcomings. So we should not comfortably sit back saying, I am not Parikshit. Bhagavatam is for getting inspiration to follow and learn, so we need to slowly act, we need to slowly understand and act. We should not just comfortably sit back saying, Parikshit could do it, I cannot, he's teaching us that this is how you do it. So we have to take, so think who are not talking, go and tell them. Don't say, please forgive me if I did any offense to you. Say, please forgive me, I did offense to you, I just don't know what it is, And if you know what it is, you should say that, I did this wrong to you, please forgive me. Yeah. Is that okay, Mats? Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat, first class, wonderful class. Mataji, I got a small doubt. Generally, all the devotees prefer to go and have a bath in Ganga on Ekadasi day. But whereas in the case of Pundarika Vijjanidhi, a great elevated devotee, never baths in the Ganga and strictly avoids touching Ganga with his feet. He cannot bear to see the teeming crowds of people utilizing the Ganga for washing their mouths, hair and dirty clothes, etc. Come late in the evening to offer his respects to the Ganga after everyone has gone home. So always drinks Ganga water before performing his daily prescribed religious duties. So my question is, if that is the case, is it fair to avoid such situation and follow his footsteps and visiting Ganga in the late evening?
In the late evening? Ganga is Ganga. You go in the morning, evening, night, all the time she is Ganga. I mean, we have something that Prabhupada has given us is Krishna consciousness is joyfully performed. There might have been exalted devotees who set some standards by giving some very, very strict standards, that is setting example for us. That is in terms of how much we should be respectful. But there is no hard and fast rule that people who go in the evening only are respectful, people who go in the morning are not respectful, people who are playing in Ganga are not respectful, people who are not touching with feet are only respectful. There are no rules like that. Ganga Devi, she is so filled with Lord Gauranga's lotus feet dust. So complete immersion and staying as long as possible is all very, very good. and you do from morning to night without becoming sick, you should do it. You know, and if you can't do it, if you feel like, oh, I'm not very respectful or whatever, if you open your shower any time, you know, 1000, yeah, you open your shower is all Ganga water only. So if you feel you're not respectful, you can just take a shower. But there is no hard and fast rule like you should not put your feet inside Ganga, or you should go only in this time or that time. You know, any time you go, any time of the day you go, she is filled with that Gauranga's blessing. You know, you just go. If you have that mindset, you will not behave badly. Of course, spitting is wrong, washing clothes is wrong. You know, if you go and see the local people, you know, they're doing shampoo and, you know, they wash their clothes and all. We can tell them, you know, let's not do that. You know, even in a scientific way, it's polluting the river, like that. You know, if you say some things that are giving them knowledge, even they will stop. One time, one man was there, and then he was, I was in Ganga, no, and he was there, he was trying to come with slippers. Then I told him, you come inside Ganga with slippers, people bathe in Ganga to leave their sins. You come inside Ganga with slippers, that's disrespectful, you will catch all the sins, you know. And then he removed his slippers, and he was offering obeisance. I said, what next? You know, yeah, now you offer some flowers. So they may not appreciate Ganga for spiritual value, but nobody wants to catch the sin that is floating around in the water, no. So there are ways in which we can preach and make people very aware so they don't spit or put shampoo or oil and all those things, you know. But any time you go, the same blessing will come.
No, the question, Mataji, actually the devotees are followed the footsteps of the elevated devotees like Pundarika Vijnanidhi. They are all elevated, highly elevated. And they are the companions of the Mahaprabhu and all.
Srila Prabhupada went. We are all Prabhupada Nugas. We don't know other acharyas. Our shelter is Prabhupada. If Prabhupada has anywhere said that you should go only in the evening to Ganga, we see Prabhupada is going to Ganga. We see devotees taking water and splashing on Prabhupada and all. Those are all transcendental pastimes where they respectfully play in Ganga. You know, so our guidelines are from Prabhupada. Our access to Pundarik Vidyanidhi is also through Srila Prabhupada. So we can simply follow Srila Prabhupada's standard. Prabhupada has set the standard that you should not play around in Shamakund, Radhakund. You go take a dip and out. And you don't go swimming and all that, you know. So that there is a standard for Shamakund, Radhakund. But Srila Prabhupada, by his personal example, has shown, you know, he's in Yamuna and devotees are splashing water on him, and he chants his Gayatri inside Ganga. There are all videos and all, you know. So that is all. We have to just follow what Prabhupada is asking us to. We don't have to worry about, if there is an offense, Prabhupada will take care. No need to worry. We just follow Prabhupada's footsteps. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.